I'm just preparing to live stream. Okay. Cool. Okay, Kenza, I will share the YouTube live streaming link. If you'd like to share it between your peers, I will just share it. For everyone who joined us, welcome on board. I will share all the information. Sorry.
It's fine.
Guys, welcome on board. I'm going to be sharing right now with all of you the all about our architectures entertainment tonight and all about Kenza. So you can just spare a few minutes until we begin to read all the information in our chat box. And you can go ahead and enlighten us where you are from and all about what you do.
Okay. Hello, Diala. Thank you for having me today with you.
All right.
Is it working?
So it's all
Chat.
shared in our chat box for those of you who just joined. And once again, I will share the YouTube link for your references. Kenza, it's just 3 minutes to go. And I'm so excited to have you with us today.
Oh, I'm
If
really.
you'd like to say anything.
Is my mic working?
Yes, we can hear you.
I would like to thank you for having me here today with you. It's a huge pleasure. And yeah.
Pleasure is all ours. We're so glad to have you. I mean, I can't wait till everyone meets you and they get to actually sense your vibes and your optimism. I mean, it's contagious, truly. Very
I hope so.
It is, it is. I assure you guys, it's wonderful. We will be starting in 2 minutes. For those of you who just joined us, once again, you can read in our chat box all about Architecture's Entertainment tonight. Today we are in our 7th episode, and you can read a little bit about Kenza, who's joining us today from Doha, and she's a Qatari national. You can read all about her in brief in our chat box. And we have also shared our YouTube live streaming link in our chat box. If you'd like to share it between your peers and your family or friends, please go ahead and paste it into your social media pages. All right. We have Gary with us. He's from Doha today, Kenza. Welcome on board, Gary. For those of you who joined, you can go ahead and share with us where you are from and what you do.
Hi, Gori.
All righty. So just for you guys to know that Kenza is still quarantining from COVID and she is here in Doha with us today. She's enjoying her time at home and mashallah, she's already have done so much. We're gonna be sharing all about Kenza in our interview today. Zainab, welcome on board. We have Kenza with us today as well. Zainab from Tunisia.
Hello, Zainab.
She's happy to be with us and she's excited to hear from you as well.
Happy to have you on board.
Okay, so we have 1 minute to go. Guys, for those of you throughout our session, if you have any Q&As during our interview, please go ahead and share them in the Q&A section. And Kenza will be with us tonight to answer all your questions after our 10 questions. The structure of our interview is shared in our chat box once again, so you can go ahead and check how our structure usually goes. All right, so Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our eighth episode of Architecture's Entertainment Tonight. For tonight, we have Kenza Al Kenza.
Alawi. You can say it yet.
It's a bit difficult. I apologize for that. Welcome on board, Kenza, once again. Allow me to let you know, guys, as usual, that our interview will last for about an hour with a set of 10 questions, by which they will be interluded with our usual pick and tick, by which we will ask Kenza to provide us with one of her favorite quotes to provide an advice for future generations. And finally, we will just show her an image and we will ask you, Kenza, to reflect on that image. Um, you may read the chat info for the detailed structure. And allow me now just to give you a brief about Kenza. So Kenza, she is one of our youngest panelists who we've had so far. She is an architecture student that's currently pursuing her studies in Paris. She is a Qatari national, and in parallel, she's an athlete, she's a writer, and right now she's starting her own VR, AR, or virtual reality and augmented reality based startup, which she is the founder of. She published her first book, and she will tell us all about it. It's about Arab women, and she published it in 2018. She is a record holder on the 400 meter and the 400 minutes per hour disciplines, and she has been the first Qatari woman to ever participate in the World Championships. She is currently actually focusing on her startup. And Kenza, I can't wait to start my questionnaires with you. If you'd like to share anything before I start, please go ahead and share.
I have nothing to share, I guess. I'm just really happy to be here. And honestly, I love the idea of this talk show, and I would like to congratulate you, Diala, for this idea. And I'm very honored to be one of the youngsters that you had like the opportunity to interview.
Well, it's our pleasure again, and we are so happy to have you with us. And I can't wait to start my questionnaire. We actually really encourage you to keep doing what you're doing because you are absolutely a shining star. So, I would like to start with my first question, which is quite a simple one. Kenza, so you at such a young age, could you share with us about yourself and the accomplishments that you've done so far? I mean, in brief, more than the ones that I mean, more detailed than the ones that I already shared.
Well, as you said, I'm Kenza Alawi, a 20 years old Moroccan Qatari architecture student in Paris. I'm also an athlete and a writer, and a very, very big fan of new technologies. As you said, I've published my first book in 2018, and it is entitled L'œil d'Arabia, Le monde aux yeux d'une jeune femme arabe, which in English can be translated to The Eye of the Arabian, the world through a young Arab woman's eyes. As I've told you as well, and as you've said, I'm a Qatari athlete, and I've had the opportunity to represent Qatar in big events such as the World's Championship and becoming historically the first Qatari lady to ever participate in such. I've also founded a digital marketing agency called Menas & Co. with a main purpose to help small and medium businesses who haven't digitalized their companies survive through the pandemic. It was also founded to help the freelancers and students with low experience but extreme talent to showcase their abilities and actually gain experience to later on be able to get hired up in bigger companies. Because sincerely, something that frustrates me like a lot is the notion of requiring years and years of experience to gain credibility and actually have a chance to get hired up in a good company with a good income. I sincerely believe that someone with low experience can also be part of a big project, and someone with low experience has so much more to give and to do than someone with lots of experience and someone who's actually programmed to do something. And recently, I've been working on an AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality project, and it's still in process.
Well, that is absolutely motivating. I mean, thank you for your answer. It's much more detailed than I have shared. For those of you who are not yet motivated, stay with us because you're going to be so inspired. with Kenza's energy tonight. So, Kenza, off to my next question. You are currently pursuing your education in the field of architecture in Paris. So, what has been your major trigger to study in Paris and specialize in this field in specific? I mean, why Paris and why this field?
Well, honestly, it was not a very simple choice for me, as I'm quite versatile. After my baccalaureate, I didn't know if I wanted to become a doctor, an engineer, an architect, or work in politics. My heart chose architecture because ambition, creativity, and imagination were actually the skills that primed on others. I have been designing and building houses and games since I was very young. Sims 4 was all my life, by the way.
Oh,
and I've discovered SketchUp when I was a kid, for example. So I guess that is how everything happened, and that's what influenced actually my choice. When it comes to Paris, the choice was made because I've been studying in a French system since my youngest age, and it was the logical sequence to it. Besides, Paris is well known for its architecture and schools. For example, you must know Viollet-le-Duc, Mansart, Le Corbusier, Jean Nouvel, all of them. So it was quite honoring, and I was very grateful to get the chance to study in one of the best schools in France in architecture.
that is wonderful. I mean, we wish you the best of luck. You're still pursuing your studies and you're almost finished. So, best of luck, actually, Kenza. That is motivating. Um, Off to my third, who would you consider to be your main role model? I mean, at such a young age, we all have role models and idols. And why has this person in specific influenced you, or how did this person influence you in any way?
Sincerely, I can't limit myself to one role model as I have had many different in different fields through the time. I get easily inspired by people who are achieving or fighting to achieve. So my role models can extend from my family to my friends to international personalities and celebrities. But if I had to talk about one person, and since we're talking about architecture, I would actually mention Zaha Hadid. The fact that she is a woman who imposed herself in the architecture's field, which is mainly a men's field, and the fact that she has brought a new turning point to architecture, and the fact that she has been into new technology since day one, makes her a very impressive woman to me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing again, Kenza. I mean, Zaha is probably a lot of the young generation's favorite. And thank you for your answer. So, off to my fourth and last question in this segment. You are a Qatari national record holder and the first woman to ever participate in the World's Championships, like, for example, the six Women GCC Games and the 23rd Asian Athletics Championship. So, could you tell us more about what challenges and what opportunities were you facing out of this exquisite experience? I mean, as a lady and as a woman.
Well, finding a balance between my studies, my other projects, and athletics was the biggest challenge of them all, honestly. Being an athlete requires lots of energy, a very well organized lifestyle, and an incredible mindset. It is time consuming when you actually want to make it to the high level. Track and field is actually a sport of passion. It's either you like it or you hate it. Seriously. For me, it became like an addiction, and I wanted to know and test myself and see how far I could go, how much my body could resist, and how strong my mind was. Athletics shaped my life and my goals. I'm learning through it how to stay strong through pain and actually how to gain endurance and always defy myself. It has
Wonderful.
it has built up, like, I don't know how to say it, but like somehow my self-confidence, and it still is, and it helps me realize how the mind functions. These keys are extremely useful for me when it comes to business and startups. But athletics has also helped me become more responsible. It has allowed me to represent a country, and that's a big responsibility as you have the actual image of that country in your hands. During the sixth Women GCC Games, for example, it was directly after the political embargo. So we had to be extremely careful with others and actually give the best and most outstanding image of us. So that's what I have to say when it comes to the GCC. But oh, yeah, the worlds were like, honestly, the worlds were the best experience so far of all of my career. It was indescribable. It was a mix between joy and stress. For the young Kenza, it was very intimidating because I was going to participate against some of my role models, some athletes I would actually look up to. Being applauded by the crowd as well was very intimidating, and I wanted to hide at some point. But I will never forget how that day felt from the moment I woke up to the time I've put my number on and my spikes and I was ready to compete.
That is wonderful. I mean, absolutely well spoken. I love your answer, Kenza. I mean, we wish you the best of luck and we wish to see more of this energy in more athletic related activities in the future. So I'm done with my first segment and I would like just to give you a small interlude. And by that, I would like you to, sorry, I would like you, Kenza, to share with us one of your favorite all-time quotes.
I have many honestly, but the one I would actually give out today is one of Napoleon Hill. I don't know if you know about him, but it is every adversity, every failure, and every heartache carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. This is
Wonderful.
one of the quotes that I that motivates me every day because if you know Newton and his third law, it is said that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever you're gonna do, you're gonna receive. So whenever I'm about to give up and go and cry in my bed, I just remember this quote and remember Newton and Napoleon Hill, and I gain my confidence and my motivation back.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kenza, for sharing. And so I'd like to move to my second segment, which is part of your interests, speaking about technologies, ARs, and VRs. So you are currently focusing on launching your own small business, or let's call it startup, which
Mhm.
focuses mainly on new technologies, including, as we mentioned before, AR and VR, augmented realities and virtual realities. So could you please tell us how and why did you come up with this idea? I mean, you've shared a bit about it, but we'd like to go more into details now.
Well, actually, that's a funny story. The idea had concretized during the pandemic and the crisis. Who decides to start a business and a startup during a, during a pandemic? But it was already in my mind since a long time before. Basically, in our school, during my second year of architecture, I was lucky enough to have two teachers who have initiated us to the usage of VR in architecture. During all of our second year, we've been designing our projects through virtual reality, and we've had the chance to be part of the Fab Lab, a lab where you could find the newest and coolest innovative tools to design and architecture. We were also initiated to Unity and some coding. And it was actually very interesting, but I'm not very into coding, by the way. um, since that year, I did lots of researches and projects using these technologies. My projects were mainly in VR and focused on architectures until I've discovered AR, fell in love with the technology, and have been using it to create apps since that day. The main question, though, we actually ask each other when in architecture, is how we can simplify other people's life and make the society better. So I've used this question that architects use to actually implement it to AR. How could AR or how can AR make our life easier? And that's where I've gathered up all of the technologies and the architecture's knowledge to launch my startup, which is not only based on architecture.
That is beautiful, Kenza. Actually, it's uplifting to start something where people actually are in desperate need for something, for light at the end of the tunnel, or just a leap of hope, let's call it. So that is actually very nice. And once again, best of luck. So if you were to apply, let's say, if we were to apply AR or VR into our lifestyle and our career developments or in our daily lifestyles, how easy would it be to train and convince people, in your opinion, who are not actually familiar with such technologies to adapt to their use and functionality? Because as you know, not everyone are adaptive to such technologies. They might not be familiar with them. So how can you, I mean, in your opinion, how can we solve this issue?
It depends actually, but if we're talking about architecture, that would be extremely difficult. Architects are well known to not appreciate technologies and everything linked to computer science. It took years to convince them to actually give up the plan drawings to and actually use softwares. It is going to require decades to convince everyone to use 3D printers, as architects are very, very attached to their 3D white models. Handmade, sorry. They should be handmade. Conceptualizing in virtual reality and not being able to physically touch your models, this might require centuries for architecture. But when it comes to daily basis, it can actually be interesting for the user. Um, I can give you an example. Pokemon Go is a game that is mainly based on augmented reality. And by early 2019, there were, I think, over 150 million active users only in Pokemon Go. So users actually reacted well to such technologies in gaming. So, and by the way, AR is also used for the development of filters on Snap and Insta, and we love filters. So, I don't think that we will have many difficulties to actually adapt to AR and VR in our daily basis.
Well, let's hope that the older generations will be able to adapt to such technologies and they will be able to change, I mean, to at least start grasping it and digesting the idea of having such things um, actually be incorporated in our daily lives. Because, I mean, this is more or less the future of our our lives, basically, or even in architecture. So, I would like to also ask you, you are a strong believer that piezoelectricity is going to be shaping our future, and you are actually aware of it, and that we will rely on such advancements in the future. So, could you elaborate more? What is this all about, and why is it necessary for us to be aware of such an advancement?
Well, to make it simple, piezoelectricity means electricity resulting from pressure. You apply pressure, you obtain electricity. There are some materials that are used to make such and that are piezoelectric. We call them piezoelectric. And the most well known one is quartz that we actually use in watches. In architecture, piezoelectricity and piezoelectric materials are used to generate energy and provide environmentally friendly solutions for the world of tomorrow. They're also used to damp vibrations and reduce noise. For example, I would give you an example to supply energy to buildings, but also in the medical field. In the medical field, they're used when it comes to ultrasounds. They capture like the capturing of ultrasounds. Many technologies around such principle are being tested out in the world, especially in the architecture's field. The ones that I've been researching about are based on the wind, the noise, and the contact. For the wind, the principle behind it is to actually transform the wind and the noise into electricity. But you're going to tell me that there are already wind turbines out there. However, wind turbines are extremely big and are not extremely beautiful when it comes to landscapes and are extremely noisy. So piezoelectricity can be an alternative to that. Another principle is the one based on the sound. This one is mostly designed to reduce the city's noise and sound pollution inside the building, and at the same time generate energy. The piezoelectric materials here are noise absorbent, as we can qualify them off, and can become a good ecological initiative. Finally, the last principle I've talked about, and it's the one with when it comes to contact, and it's the one based on contact exactly. It's one that is already found in the world. We can find it in Netherlands, and we can find it in Tokyo in the metro station, and it's they place slabs and people are going to be the ones who are going to generate the energy by, for example, walking on the slabs or dancing on the slabs. So we can find this principle in nightclubs in the Netherlands, or, as I've said, in the metro station in Tokyo.
Wonderful. I mean, that's a huge domain that we can go on talking about for days and for months,
Yeah.
actually. It's a wonderful topic that I have never been aware of. Thank you, Kenza, again for sharing. Um, but I have one more last question for this segment. Do you think that such technological introductions and fast-paced advancements will lead to high unemployment rates for older generations?
Not really. There is a quote I truly appreciate and love from Henry Ford that says, "Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young." As the world advances every day, the old generations, like the young ones, must keep learning. And life is like a roller coaster. You need to buckle up your seatbelt to not get expelled. The old generations must adapt and turn these texts into their favor. They will, in contrary, be primordial to any kind of project because they have an extended baggage of knowledge. So I don't think that they will lose their jobs because of that.
Well, let's agree on that because if they keep learning, they should buckle up and they should stay on the fast-paced road, huh? So I
Mhm, I-
thank you for sharing. And for for ending this segment, I'd like to introduce it with our um, second pick and tick for the day. And this is I would like to kindly for you to share one advice for future generations or people your age.
An advice I can give is to never give up on your dreams. It's very cliche to say, but honestly, it's the best advice I can give because when you're young, you're still very young and your mind is still very open, very free, and you don't have all of the charge in the work, etc. You can still believe and you can still achieve things that you would like that you can regret later on of not achieving. So my own advice is to actually stick up to your dreams because if you can dream it, you can make it.
Wonderful. Thank you again for sharing. And now we're going to move to our last segment and our last two questions. For our audience, please, if you have any questions, please just jot them in the Q&A section for Kenza to answer them at the end. Um,
My
so,
asking, who do you mean by the older generation? Not you, Omeima, not you.
no, it's like the people who are actually have been in their jobs for like long years and they have been spending years in their current position. So it would take them a long time to adapt to new technologies and new advancements in their workspace, I believe. So I would like to talk about your book, which is, as you said, it's translated into English and it's entitled The Eye of the Arabia, The World Through an Arab Woman's Eye. So could you tell us more about your lovely book and why you chose to speak about women in the Arab world in specific?
Well, it's not translated yet to English. It's still in the process,
No,
but
I title.
oh, okay, sorry. But actually, it's a novel, and the story begins in a village where our hero Amal, which means hope in Arabic, lives. She's a very, very bright person, like you, Diala, and is on the lookout for her rights throughout the novel. She encountered many difficulties due to a closed minded family, due to a lack of education. However, the actual message I'm trying to get across is even deeper than that, and the feeling I want to convey to the reader is more perplexing. I made sure throughout the novel to bring out many different stories that can be related to by any Arab woman, including you and I, out there, in order to show that the situation and the obstacles encountered by women in the Arab world are present regardless the environment. Be careful. Do not think that I'm a fake feminist activist because I'm not trying to denounce men, but the lack of education that we encounter in the Arab world. It is important to stress that many Arab countries have evolved from this point in time. However, there is still a lot to do, and all this change can only happen through education, a major point that allows society to evolve. By preventing access to education for all, we deprive a population of many opportunities and we accentuate the already existing gap between different populations or types of populations in the same society. We can help prevent this if we want to. For my part, I seek to raise awareness of inequalities when it comes to the access to education in the Arab countries and subsequently participate, thanks to the money I raised with the sales, to charity projects that would target education in these countries. And for example, building schools, building sport areas where girls and boys can play. And yeah.
That is wonderful. Thank you again for actually, answering in a very uplifting manner by which we are actually motivated to read your book. Um, um, well, we have someone asking where, which is Umayma again, where can we find the book? Where can we actually?
The book is available in the French National Library. It is also soon to be available in the National Library of Qatar. There's still some negotiation to do. It is available in the French Institute of Qatar, soon to be available in the Arab Institute in France, and it can and at the French School of Doha.
Wonderful. I mean, that is wonderful. It would be absolutely worth reading, especially for women out there, and even for many of the men, just to have an insight of the struggles that people are. I mean, some women are facing, as you said. I mean, it's truly inspiring, and we wish you again the very best of luck.
Thank
For
you.
my last question for our interview, unfortunately, I would like to ask you a very simple question that you may have been asked by your parents, your peers, or your friends um, since you're very young. I'd like to ask you, where do you envision yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Honestly, in my mom's kitchen eating her food.
Uh,
That's where I envision myself.
an ambitious persona, I don't believe that you will be there. I believe you will be an owner of one of the biggest companies and you will actually excel in your small business, Kenza.
That's very sweet of you. Hopefully, we will all impact and we will all have our own impacts and we will all be the owners of big companies out there.
No, you're truly, your energy is very motivating. We loved having you with us today. Guys, if you have any questions, we'll leave 2 minutes for your final questions. And I have shared in our chat Kenza's contact info if you'd like to contact her in the future via LinkedIn or via email. We loved having you with us. This is your last chance, guys, to ask Kenza the questions that you have in mind. And thank you all for staying with us tonight, actually. It was very sweet of you, Kenza. Thank you for giving us the time to share your insights and your ideologies. We have one question coming through. Um, just wanted to know about your company, to know about your company.
Uh, more to know more about my company, do you think?
Here in Doha.
Uh, Yeah, well, it's still launching. It's a startup, and I've been collaborating with some old friends of mine who are also who used to be in Doha and are actually around the world. And it's still in process. We're still negotiating. We're still in the very, very beginning, but we already have some apps that are getting ready that will facilitate your daily basis life, including ordering, your experience in restaurants, your experience with clothes. You need to stay tuned to see what we have for you.
And when will it be launched, Kenza?
Normally, we have fixed an objective of a year to develop lots of different apps, but it can it can take more, like it can take less. I can't give an exact an exact timetable.
Wonderful. Actually, Umayma is asking, how can we follow up on your updates and apps?
We have an Instagram page for the digital marketing agency called Menas and Co. You can find it at Menas and Co on Instagram, or on LinkedIn. There is a page as well called Menas and Co. Or you can just add me on LinkedIn, and if you need to know anything, I will be more than happy to answer.
All right, so it's called,
Menas and Co.
um, well, you didn't mention your paintings. One of the reasons why Kenza couldn't be able to share her paintings today is that she had them in. You can go ahead and share your insights, Kenza. Please go ahead.
Well, my paintings are in Paris actually, and I'm also a painter, as Diala said. I love painting and I love drawing, and I'm more of a paysagist. How do we call it in English? A
What?
natural drawing, a nature drawing, drawer,
Um, yeah,
paysagist, a
nature
landscaper. I don't know. So yeah, and most of them. Sorry.
landscape artist.
Yeah, and I also do some street art actually. I've been doing some street art in Paris. It's not very, it's not something I'm very proud of, but in our school, we had a wall and we had to decorate it. So we did some street art.
Wonderful. Actually, street art is one of like the very I mean, it's full of life, it's full of positivity, and it's a very communal event by which you meet new people, you get to know the stories of the streets, and
Mm.
it's wonderful to do that, Kenza. I mean, I salute you for that. And it's
Well,
very
we
well known actually in Europe.
We have an anecdote. In school, we had to go at 3 a.m., I think, or something like that, to actually look at street artists. And it was part of an exercise we had for like our architecture, our architecture course. And we went there at 3 a.m. And the life at 3 a.m. is amazing when it comes to street art. All of the artists are gathered up. They're all like very festive. There's music. They're all very nice, and they also asked us to join when we said that we were in architecture, and tag the walls with them. I didn't dare. I wasn't I wasn't very encouraged, but what they did was really nice. And actually, one of my role models is also Banksy.
Wonderful. Banksy has wonderful, wonderful works. It's very controversial, and it's very socio-political driven kind of work. For those of you who are interested in Kenza's startup, we have shared the Instagram link, her LinkedIn, which we shared at the beginning of our interview, and again we shared your email, Kenza, for those of you who would like to contact you. I believe we don't have any more further questions. Kenza, thank you so much for sharing your positivity with us tonight and sharing your wonderful ideologies and insights. We wish you a very good evening. And for our audience, thank you so much for joining us in our seventh episode of Architecture's Entertainment tonight. Thank you again, Kenza,
Thank you.
so much, and have a great night.
You too, Diala.
Good night.
Good night.